We up? Good evening. Okay, everybody be quiet now. Pay attention. This is serious business tonight. My name is Paul, and our guest tonight, when I first met him some time ago, I pronounced his name Omer. And of course, he was very patient. He's a very gracious and patient guy. And he said, no, my name is Omer. And I said, thank you, Omer. I finally got it straight after several days. His wife is Michal. It's like M-I-K-H-A-L kind of pronunciation. They have 2 young daughters. On the sheet that we handed out to you there tells a little description of him. He's highly educated. He served in the IDF. He's got a wonderful family. We had the pleasure of being in his home and meeting his family. And he's joining us tonight, but I want to kind of go over a couple things, kind of housekeeping type stuff for a minute. For those of you who are here, thank you for coming. We appreciate it, and I know he appreciates it, and the Ketchums appreciate it. No, Ellie will be introducing everybody here shortly. A little story. When I was with him last year, we were walking on a road somewhere, I don't even remember where, one of the archaeological sites. And I'm an amateur archaeologist. I love history. I love biblical history. And you tonight are going to love biblical history also, or else. Then I asked Tom and Deb, right, Tom? Yeah. I forced it on everybody because there are so many wonderful stories associated with the investigation of these sites and biblical stories. The story that's in that brochure at the bottom is a true story. If you don't know who Major Allenby was in World War II, General Allenby and his Brigade Major Curry, phenomenal stories about stuff they did in World War I in Israel. Interesting reading that relate to the Bible. That's just one of the fun stories. Omer was a farmer. He was raised on a farm. He loves John Deere tractors. Yeah, I have a John Deere tractor, several of them. So it's one of those things that, my hat fell off, that we can relate to. So, in thank you for coming this evening, we present you with an official John Deere hat.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you. Nothing runs like a deer.
Now, why am I wearing a kippah and a Jewish prayer shawl? You will never in your life, ever again, see a Norwegian American with blue eyes wearing a Jewish kippah and a Hebrew prayer shawl. So enjoy it while you can. These have a very distinct message to them. Days almost could be spent on the messages in each of these knots and the colors. Maybe you'll address it a little bit tonight. I know you're a little bit tight on time. For those who were on the Israel tour last year, they're mostly sitting in here. I want to give a special thanks to all of you for putting this on, for putting the food together, for helping arrange it, for greeting people. It's really, really neat that you did that. And we are all thankful for you doing that. Now, without further ado, one more story. Is that okay, Pastor Jason? Don't say no. When we were walking, as I started to tell you, in Israel, being a historian and loving history, I asked Omer, do the Jewish farmers there every 7 years let the ground lie fallow? Like the Bible says they're supposed to do. And he looked at me and he goes, yeah, the Orthodox Jews do, but they lease the land out that 7th year. And he goes, we're Jewish, what do you expect? Anyway, Pastor Jason.
Thanks, Paul. Well, my name is Jason. I get to be the lead pastor here at Ridgefield Church of the Nazarene. And on behalf of our church family, welcome this evening. Whether you're a church member here or not, we're so glad to have you. And just hope and pray that tonight's presentation really it encourages you in your faith and builds your confidence that the God who is revealed in the Bible is who he says he is, and that you can have confidence in the truth and the power of the Word of God. And so, Omer, we're so glad to have you with us tonight. Let's pray and invite just invite God to speak to our hearts and minds. God, thank you for your word. Thank you that you reveal yourself to us. And thank you, Lord, that you show us and you give us confidence that your word can be trusted. And pray that tonight you would speak through Omer and encourage our hearts and inspire our hearts to love you and worship you more and better every day. In your name, amen. Well, Frida, would you come share with us how it is that a bunch of folks from Ridgefield came to know Omer?
Well, my friend Christina and I planned a tour trip to Israel for the church. And we worked really hard. We got the right, choosing our tour company and our hotels and the sites that we were going to go see. And we had our little booklets pretty much in order. But there's one thing we didn't have. We didn't have our tour guide. Now, we could take anybody that the tour company would give us, but we didn't want that. And so we had a list of people, and we check them out, and nobody was available. And one Sunday morning, I came to church, and Dan and Carol Ketchum were here. Now, they were visiting here from Jerusalem. And the first tour group we took, we actually went to their church and went to church with them. But I told Dan and Carol about this trip. I said, but we don't have our guide yet. And they said, we have the man. And so they gave me Omer's information, and they gave him mine, and we started communicating, and it was the best thing that happened on the trip. I love your passion and your zeal and your knowledge, and we were blessed to have you. I'm so thankful you are here with us. And I'm going to have Dan come and just say a few words to introduce Omer.
Thank you very much, Pastor Frida, Pastor Jason. Always a joy to be here. Carol and I now live in Woodland, Washington, so we're in the neighborhood, and we've been here several times because Ridgefield Church is one of the very strong possibilities where we will land, and we're delighted to be with you this evening. Thanks for inviting my good brother, Omer. Carol and I are very grateful for all of the planning of Frida and the team. Thank you so much for all you've poured into this. And just look around the room. This congregation does not normally have a Sunday evening. They have Saturday night, 2 Sunday mornings. But Sunday night, this is just amazing. You ought to just be thanking the Lord for the way this has come together, and we're very grateful. So, we actually met Omer for the very first time when I invited him to the Global Ministry Center for the Church of the Nazarene in Kansas City, where I was leading missions and intercession globally. And he came and made a presentation and then went to his office in Chicago. When he grew up in a very strong Jewish home that loved reading the New Testament, the New Covenant, the Brit Chadashah, which is the way you say it in Hebrew, and loved the stories of Jesus. I asked him this morning at the end of the presentation at Hillcrest, which was amazing, and if this evening is anything like that, you're going to be, your mouth will just be open. It's great. I asked him at the end of the presentation, he just asked for questions, probably do the same thing tonight. I said, so Omer, do you believe that God raised Jesus from the dead? Now there's a good question, don't you think? And I already knew the answer, but I wanted to let other people know that he knows. And so he went into an explanation, and at the end of it he said, absolutely, I believe that God raised Jesus from the dead. This is a man who loves the Bible, knows the Bible, and leads groups occasionally. He has many groups every year that the Bible comes to life. The ministry that he started organizes, but he only leads a few. And so I'm very pleased that he led your group. And it's very likely that he'd be willing to lead your groups in the future, as a matter of fact. So after he graduated from school, every young man, every young lady goes into the military. He went immediately right to the top of the military. The government started watching him. Eventually, they sent him to be the consul of the largest tourism consulate in Chicago, Illinois, in the world, in Chicago. And then I went to his office, got acquainted. We've been, shortly after Carol and I moved to Jerusalem, he brought his family back to Israel, and here's the reason why. He won't tell you this story, but I will. One of his upline supervisors from Jerusalem came and said, Omer, you're doing such a great job, and we just want to commend you. You're an incredible leader. You're recruiting a lot of good tourism for Israel. We have just one request, however. We would like for you to just kind of tone down your passion for Jesus and the stories about Jesus while you're leading, because people know you're Jewish, and that just doesn't connect with the government and with a lot of people in Israel. But he says, but Omer responded, yeah, but look at all of the people from the Christian community, especially the evangelical community, that are coming because they love stories about Jesus. And he said, you know that I grew up loving the stories about Jesus in the New Testament. He said, yeah, we know all of that. And this guy was a very good friend of Omer's. We were just talking about him again earlier today. I've met him personally. But he said, no, just kind of tone it down. That's all we have to ask. And Omer just looked at him and said, if you are serious, my friend, I will resign before you leave my office today. He said, no, we don't want your resignation. You're doing a great job. Just kind of quiet it down. He said, I won't quiet it down about Jesus. I love Jesus. And so he wrote his resignation. The guy was serious, wrote his resignation, moved to Jerusalem just after we had moved to Jerusalem. We've been in their home many times, Shabbat, Pesach, Passover. They've been in our apartment many times. Friends, it's just a delight to share with you tonight one of the best friends that we have in Israel. Let's thank the Lord for Omer Eshel. Come on, Omer. God bless you.
Well, shalom, everybody. After this kind of presentation, it's like, okay, I'm on the spot a little bit. Thank you all so much for coming. Frida, thank you for all that you do. It's great to see so many familiar faces. And Pastor Jason, thank you. Where is Pastor Jason? Thank you so much for your hospitality. I really appreciate it. And, Daniel said that, yes, I was in the military. I was in paratroopers. I'm proud to say I'm the only Israeli paratrooper never to jump out of a plane. I got shoved 3 times. And I put a fight. I did put a fight. And I told my supervisor there is absolutely no reason to jump out of a perfectly good airplane. So that was my military service. What I want to do today, I forgot the clicker. Oh, 1 second. There you go, there, thanks. What I want to do today, I want to talk about, well, I think you read that book. It's called The Bible. It's actually the bestseller in history. I think you read that. And I want to talk today about how archaeological finds basically approves the Bible. Now, when we all sitting here in a church, so we are kind of all in the same understanding that the Bible is true. If you're not in that same understanding, that's the wrong place to say it tonight. But this is, that's kind of our assumption. But, we're teaching our children, wait, let me go back. I'm the proud father of 2 amazing girls, Tamar and Ella. Tamar is 5, Ella is 9. I spoke to Frida today that Ella actually, my daughter knows the Bible so well that she's exempt from all Bible classes in her school. Seriously, her teacher says to me, you know what? I'd rather her drawing than destroying the self-confidence of other kids. And Tamar is 5 years old. So she knows the Bible, she doesn't know scriptures. Yet, we are working on this. So, and my wife, Michal, she is, I think God's greatest blessing to me is my wife. I always say I'm married up, completely married up. So, and we live in the Ela Valley. By the way, that's why they're all associated with David. Ela is named after the valley of Ela. Tamar is the daughter of David. And Michal is the wife of David. Yeah. And Omer is the offering of the wheat in the temple of God, not Omar. Omar is someone that the TSA will stop for random questions. Which I get this all the time. All the time. All the time. So what we're going to do today, we're going to go and speak about archaeological digs that proves the Bible. Now, Daniel is right. When I left the government, I started a travel ministry, but the name The Bible Come to Life. It's not a travel company, it's a travel ministry. And I remember sitting with Frida every night, we're looking at an itinerary. Okay, not this, not this, not this, let's do this, let's do that. I think that at the end of the day, we did a completely different tour than what we had in the itinerary. Because what we're doing on a study tour is we're going to sites that authenticate the Bible. I don't care about, coffee shops, and I don't care about places that you can buy knickknacks. If you want to have the Holy Land experience, fly to Florida. Seriously, they have a theme park called Holy Land. It's all made in China. It's great. You should go and see it. If you want to see the real deal, then come to a study tour. And that's what we did. So the Bible Come to Life Travel Education Center is a travel ministry that it's provided, the funds are provided by the tours that come to Israel, yes. But our main objective is not the tours. Our main objective is to teach the truth and the authenticity of the Word of God. And we have 70 different movies that we made on sites, and we show, here's the scriptures, here's the site, 1 + 1, do the math. Okay? So it's all free of charge. This is our agenda. And sometimes we are the only means for churches, mostly in Muslim countries, to obtain the Word of God. The only means, because their government, their algorithm doesn't screen us because we're not written as ministry. All right? So it's like they think it's a tourism company. So we get a lot of thank you notes. Actually, funny enough, a lot from Turkey. So I'm doing teaching all over the world, and Daniel is right. I'm guiding very few tours. We have 35 guides that I train them, so they do the tours, but I do guide in some occasions. I do. So what I wanted to do today is for us to dive into recent archaeological finds. Some of the people that were here will recognize some of the sites. I can tell you, the last tour that we had was November 2018. I can tell you that 99% of the sites are going to be different because we keep on finding new stuff all the time. All the time. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. For those of you who are in the morning in Ridgefield, please don't, in Hillcrest, don't answer the question. Okay, so as I said, I have two girls, right? One is 9 and the other one is 5. What is the most important story for a 9-year-old child? Girl. Come on, what do you think? Mary. Mary? Mary? Ruth? Esther? Frozen. Seriously, guys, Frozen. Hey, we got Frozen too. But here's the problem. See, my girls are watching Frozen again and again and again and again. I have Hans chasing after me in my dreams. The thing is, though, the problem with Frozen, and please don't tell that to my daughters, it's not real. Sorry, it's not. However, the Bible is real. And that's what we are going to see today. You know, when I teach my girls every night, we go over the scriptures, every night a different scripture, minus some PG-13 chapters, like, Judges 19, I'm going to wait a little bit on that. But they know most of the stories. And when I've never heard my girls tell me, Dad, how do you know it's true? And the reason why, because we go hiking almost every Shabbat to see the truth of the Bible in archaeological sites. They don't need to ask me, is it true? Because they just saw it. So this is what I'm trying to do now, just a little bit, for us to understand. Wait, if this will work, then I'll be very happy. Yes. Whoop, 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 whoop. There you go. Okay. So, the land of Israel, or the state of Israel, is actually the size of New Jersey. That's it. That's it. So when we drive from, what's the distance between here and Seattle? How many? 225 miles. That's about 3/4 of Israel. The whole length of Israel, the whole length is 500 kilometers, which is about 300 miles. That's the whole length. The whole width of Israel is 70 kilometers, 70 kilometers, which will be about 50 miles. And still everybody speaks about Israel since the dawn of history. Why? Because Israel is the apple of God's eye. Think about it. What other country in the world has so many times been appeared on the news? It's unbelievable. You know, I'm not going to speak about biblical right now, just a little bit, because people ask me about safety and everything. You know, the Palestinian-Israeli conflict is one of the most known conflicts in the world, right? It is one of the smallest and insignificant conflicts in the history of mankind. We're talking about a dispute about a land which is less than New Jersey. We're talking about a very small amount of casualties when you look at the overall number. I mean, how many people died just on D-Day? It's more than double the entire Israeli-Palestinian conflict. People are fighting each other in Pakistan, in India, over millions of people. No one talks about it. But Israel, all over the news. Why? It's the apples of God's eye. So what we're going to do today, we're going to dive in, we're going to see some archaeological sites, and let's start with this. This is a site which most groups don't arrive there. It's called Gamla. Anyone ever heard about Gamla? Don't be shy. Most Israelis never heard about Gamla as well, so don't worry about it. Gamla was the main Jewish city up in the Golan Heights. Okay? Everybody see that square structure in the middle? You see that? This is the main synagogue of Gamla. What did Jesus do when he walked in the villages and the towns of the Galilee? In the synagogues. He went to preach in the synagogues. This synagogue was destroyed in the year 66 AD by the Romans. Okay? So a little bit after the crucifixion and resurrection. A little bit. So if this synagogue was destroyed just a little bit after crucifixion, meaning that Jesus probably visited this synagogue. There are not a lot of places in the world that you can actually sit down and say, Jesus was right here at this stone. And there was nothing built on top of it because it was destroyed for 2,000 years. But the problem with Gamla is that it's pretty much inaccessible for a lot of groups. So we have this. This is Magdala. Anyone familiar with the name Magdala? Mary of Magdala? In 2010, let's go back. In 1905, the Franciscan order bought a piece of land called Magdala. And they've been digging over there for 100 years. They found absolutely nothing. Nothing. So they assume Magdala is probably there. 2010, a Mexican entrepreneur, folks, it's not a joke, this is for real. A Mexican entrepreneur decided to build a luxurious hotel by the shores of the Sea of Galilee. But the problem in Israel that everywhere you're going to dig, you're probably going to find an archaeological site. So the biggest prayer in Israel is, please, Lord, let it not be an archaeological site next to my home, because I'm going to be stuck for good. So they start drilling to find, to build their foundation, and they found the synagogue of Magdala. And not just that, you see that table in the middle? This is the table that they used to put the scrolls on. Do you remember who also put a scroll on the table and read the book of Isaiah? Well, there you go. So we are seeing here two sites that were, it's what we call an A site. I'm going to explain that. There's three kinds of sites, A, B, and C. A, archaeologically based. This is a fact. We know this is Gamla. We know because we found a sign, welcome to Gamla. And also Magdala, same thing. This is an A site. B will be deep tradition. For example, you go to Capernaum, we know the synagogue is A, but there is a building that people assume that this is the house of Peter. We never found a sign saying, welcome to the house of Peter. So we just assume that this is the house of Peter. That will be a B. A C site is a place that is just tradition, meaning nice story. That's basically it. So we visit mostly A sites, and this is a classic A site. Whoops, okay. That clicker doesn't like me. Oh, okay, there you go. This is a new archaeological discovery that was found about, I think, either half a year or 8 months ago. Everybody knows about the difference, or not the difference, but the fact that people call Israel also Palestine, right? Why is that? The Romans had this thing that they liked. It was a Roman thing. What they used to do, after they destroyed a nation, they would erase their name completely to wipe them off the face of the earth. So Israel, or Judea, hence, by the way, the name Jews. Jews are coming from Judea, okay? So Judea was annihilated by the Romans in a great revolt in the year 132 AD, between 132 and 135. And they changed the name Judea. By the way, we were not the only one that had that pleasure. If you ever heard about the great kingdom of Dacia, Please raise your hand. Daniel knows Dacia. Anyone ever hear about the great country of Romania? Romania is Dacia. Iberia is Spain. Francia is Germany. Gaul is France. Brittany is England. So we have changed of names to erase the memory of those nations. Why am I telling you all of this? This was found at the bottom of the sea, not the ocean. Mediterranean is not an ocean, it's a sea. This was found in the bottom of the sea, and it says, we all read Latin here, right? Perfectly well, right? Perfect. So let's read it together. The city of Dor, look how amazing how English and Latin is almost the same, right? I'm kidding. All right. The city of Dor honors Marcus Passius, governor of the province of, which year is that? 133 AD, 2 years before they changed the name to Palestine. Okay? So we have a written proof that the land of Israel is Judea. Not just a written proof, it's a written proof by our sworn enemies, the Romans. Let's see another one. This is an interesting finding that we see a 2 feet of a sphinx. You guys familiar with the sphinx? If you're not, watch Prince of Egypt. Again, Disney, I've watched that many, many, many times. So a sphinx. Now, this sphinx was a gift that was found in the ancient city of Hatzor. Okay? In the book of Joshua, chapter 11, verse 10, it's called Hatzor, the head of all kingdom. It was the largest Canaanite city in the entire region. And we found this. And this sphinx is dated to a king by the name Mar-Neftach. His father was another king that we all know by the name Ramesses II. Ramesses II is known in history as the swimmer king. You didn't get it. He swam in the Red Sea. Never mind. The swimming king. So the swimming king, his son Mar-Neftach, basically packed an alliance with Canaanite of Hatzor, which would be right there. See that circle? This is Hatzor. So when we read in scriptures, there's something that doesn't make a lot of sense. See, Joshua enters, destroys Jericho, and then the first thing that he does, he goes and destroys not the small little cities. He goes against the main empire. Why would he do that? For many years, we had no idea why he did it. Now we know because we found this. There was an alliance between the Egyptians and the Canaanites. So what Joshua did, he went up, he destroyed that alliance. He broke the alliance, and then the entire land is free for him to take it. And because of that artifact, we know the story. We know why he did it. Next one, this is a coin that was found. And I want to make a small presentation here for us to understand, again, how we can prove the Bible. Okay? This is the coin called Judea Capta. Okay, the one on the right-hand side. You see a Roman legionnaire standing next to a palm tree, which was the symbol of Judea. That's why Palm Sunday, they used the palms to greet the king. Hosanna. Hosanna, save us from the Romans, not just spiritually, also physically. That explains a lot. When Pontius asked him, are you the king of the Jews? He said, you said so. That explains a lot. So the palm tree was a symbol of Judea. So you have a weeping mother, which is the mother of Judea, and next to it is a Roman legionnaire that is standing above it. It says, Capta, Judea Capta, capturing of Judea. This is Facebook, 2,000 years ago. The Romans couldn't tell everybody on Facebook, hey, or Twitter, hey, tweet, I just conquered Judea, yay! No, they couldn't do that. So what they did, they minted coins, and they scattered those coins around to say, we have destroyed Judea. I want to do something here. One of the most amazing sites in Israel is the place of the booth of the money changers. And we all remember, we all know that, Jesus had his debates against the leadership of the Pharisees. By the way, not the Pharisees, the leaders of the Pharisees. Most of his followers were Pharisees. The leaders were the one who gave him a hard time. Gave all of us a hard time. So when Jesus tossed the booth of the money changers, then the Roman went into action, and then they condemned him to the cross. Up until then, it was an internal Jewish affair. So what we're going to do, we're going to see a way of how they used to trick each other, okay, using coins, and that's why Jesus tossed the booth of the money changers. So I'm going to need 2 volunteers. I'm not biting, really. I don't bite hard. Yes, please, sir. Yeah, come up.
Here you are. Will she do?
Sure, of course. Yeah, come on. You don't have to. You don't have to. Another volunteer. Yes. Please, come up. What's your name, sir?
Rick.
Rick. Thank you, Rick. And what is your name? Riel? Bria. Bria, please stay here. So, we have Bria. Thank you. Bria is from Judah. Okay? And Rick is from Rome. So, I have here with me, it feels like a magic show, but it's not. I have here with me replicas of coins that are dated. I'm going to leave them here for display after if you want to do. These are exact replicas. They are not the real coins, because if I'm going to try to take the real coins of Israel, I'm going to end up in a long time in jail. So this is a copy. So I have here a few coins that I'm going to show it to you, and I'm going to show you how exactly what happened during the time when Jesus taught the booth of the money changers. So we have Rick, that he is from Judah. And we have Bria, that she is from Rome. So she has a Roman coin, and he has a Judean coin. Now, what does a good Jew do when he goes to the temple? What do I need to pay the temple? Half a shekel. I have a replica here of half a shekel. So half a shekel to you, sir, half a shekel to you, ma'am. All right? So this is Jerusalem 2,000 years ago. And I am a weary traveler walking with a Roman coin. Now, here's how it goes. The Roman coin worth half of its value in Judea, where the Judean coin worth half of its value in Rome. We are good so far? Okay, so I have a Roman coin, and I would like to buy half a shekel. Okay? So I'm going to my friend in Rome. Who is Rome? You're Rome. Yes, you are Rome. Hello, Roman friend. How are you? Good. I'd like to buy half a shekel. So here's your coin for you. But I just got half a shekel, so I need change. But you don't have half. So what you can give me is a Roman coin, which worth half in Judea, right? Thank you so much. Hello, I'd like to buy half a shekel.
Okay.
All right, so here's a denarius for you, but so here's half a shekel, but you still owe me because it's only half. So you need to give me a Judean coin, right? Back.
Right.
All right, so you have a Judean coin, and you give it back to me. I started with a Judean coin with no half a shekel. I ended up with a Judean coin and 2 half a shekels. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'll be here all night. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so the thing is, what I'm trying to show you here, of course today, thank God, it's not going to work. It's not going to work because we got a little bit smarter than that, and we have what we call a monetary control. But this thing, when you can manipulate the system, happen all the time. And imagine Jesus walking down in the courtyard of the temple, seeing this at the temple. So what we just saw right now, as funny as it is, that was not funny when you're right next to the house of God. There's a command, thou shalt not steal, right? It's somewhere there, I remember. So Jesus tossed the booth of the money changers. And now we know probably the place approximately where it happened because we find a lot of those coins over there. All right? So again, when you are in Israel and you see these places, that funny little trick, it's a trick today. It was not a trick back then. So let's continue. One of the most amazing discoveries is the city of David. For many, many, many years, we thought that Jerusalem, the walls of Jerusalem, they're brand new. They're from 1536 AD. For Israel, that's brand new. Okay? So, because we did not know where the city of David is. Why we didn't know where the city of David is? Because it was destroyed. It was buried underground. Only in 1875 AD, we found the city of David right here. See that circle? Now, the city of David itself, I want to show you this. Okay, everybody see the lower picture? You see like a triangle slope. You see this? This is the foundation of King David's palace. When I'm there with my girls and I read to them the scriptures about the trial of Solomon, cut the baby in half. So I know it's a PG-13 story. I know that, but it's a good ending. So when Solomon says, cut this baby in half, I tell my daughter, it happened somewhere here. These walls heard the verdict of Solomon, and the good mother crying, no, let her have the baby. It happened right here. Then we go down a little bit, and you see there's a tower that's kind of built alongside that triangle. You see that? You see that tower? I wish I had a laser pointer. But do you see this like a tower coming up? Yeah? No? Okay, let's say yes. Okay. That tower is actually cutting the city in the middle. And that's an outside tower. Now, we examined that tower. This is from the time of Nehemiah. You remember Nehemiah walking around the city, seeing it's being destroyed, walking through the Watergate? I'm going to say that joke again, not Nixon, our Watergate. We had Watergate before you guys. So, I'll be here all night. So, he walks around and see how the walls are destroyed, and he built a much, much, much smaller city. Says the Bible, the book of Nehemiah. We found that city. We know exactly where it is. Next thing I want to show you, this is actually one of the most important archaeological finds ever. So there's two types of archaeologists, generally speaking. There's maximalist and there's minimalist. What is the difference? A maximalist will walk with the Bible, dig a site, and say, there we go. It's in this book. We found this here. 1 + 1 = 2. A minimalist will do the exact opposite. He will walk with the Bible. He will dig a site and say, we find this, but I'm not sure this is it. So in a way, we can try to explain that a maximalist will understand that if it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it's a duck, right? The minimalist will say if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, that's a cow. All right? So we have debate all the time, the minimalist and the maximalist. Up until 1993, the minimalist approach was there was never King David. I kid you not. King David did not exist. Now hold on. If King David did not exist, then most of our Bible is not correct. That's a big and bold say. How can you even say that? And they claim, well, show me an evidence that King David existed. It's the same that King Arthur never existed. Until I find something, as far as I'm concerned, he didn't exist. 1993, Israeli National Antiquity find this black stela. And it's written in Aramaic by a guy named Hazael. We know Hazael, 2 Kings 23. We know Hazael. Hazael was the king of Aram, of Damascus, Aram. And he destroys Samaria. And he says in this inscription over here, I have enslaved and I have destroyed such and such and such and such, and I have destroyed the house of David. You see that white over there? It says Beit David, house of David. Meaning, if our sworn enemy is bragging about the fact, that's fake news 3,000 years ago, that he destroyed the house of David, meaning that the name of this dynasty in Judah was House of, which means that the founder of that dynasty is, if he walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a cow. So we have an evidence today, a pure evidence that King David existed. We have that. Next to it is an amulet. You see that little silver piece? It has an amulet in it in ancient Hebrew. Everybody can read? Good? Okay, I'm kidding. In that amulet, we found it in a layer of ash in a place called Hinnom Valley, actually in a skeleton of a priest with a Babylonian arrow in its ribs. And this has the Aaronic blessing. May the Lord shine and protect you. So the interesting thing is that the same blessing that I bless my children on Shabbat Eve, we found on a skeleton of a Jewish priest 2,500 years ago in Jerusalem. Next slide. Oops, see? Yes, okay. Okay, so the minimalist came and said, all right, fine, you got us there. David existed. But you know what never existed? Bethlehem never existed. Again, that's a bit of a problem because David is from Bethlehem and Jesus is from Bethlehem. But we never had any archaeological digs in Bethlehem because that's in Palestinian authority. So the minimalists came again and said to us, the maximalists, well, prove me wrong. Well, we did. In the city of David, we found this stamp right over here, and it says to the 7th year taxation from Bethlehem. So, Bethlehem definitely existed during the time of King Hezekiah. Definitely existed because it paid taxes. All right? So we know for a fact that Bethlehem was there during First Temple period. And we know it was a large enough town because it has its own stamp. And we found that. And this is the kind of stuff that we find all the time, day in, day out. Another amazing archaeological dig, I'll get there eventually, is this. This is actually, you guys didn't see it, it's close to the public. This is what we call the Yovel. The Yovel is the street that led from the Pool of Siloam all the way up to the temple. How many Song of Ascents do we have in the Bible? Say 15. 15, very good, yes. Good crowd. So, 15 Song of Ascents, all right? Can anyone recite one of them, just how it starts? Together, Song of Ascents, I will reach my eyes up to the hills where my salvation comes. Salvation comes from the Lord, creator of heaven and earth. Thank you, great, everybody. So, when we read Song of Ascents, we take it as a spiritual understanding. I shall lift my eyes up to the hills where my salvation comes. By the way, try to explain that to people in Kansas. They have no idea what a hill looks like. They know what is in front, behind, next to, above. No idea what you mean. No idea what you mean. Actually, one of the things that it was in shock to me, the first time I drove to St. Louis from Chicago, the GPS said, go straight for 160 miles. I was like, really? Wow. Okay, so let's go to this. We found a street leading from the Pool of Siloam all the way up to the Temple Mount. And when you walk up, you lift your eyes up to the hills. What do you see? You see the temple of God. Let's read again, Song of Ascents. I shall lift my eyes up to the hills where my salvation comes. My salvation comes from the Lord, creator of heaven and earth. That's exactly what it means. It is geographically, spiritually as well, but geographically walking to a higher ground. That's what it means. Next slide. Let's look at this one. I hope it's going to go with just one. Okay. This is actually a site. It's absolutely amazing. This is the ancient city of Tiberias that was built in the year 19 AD. And it was built by the disciples of Jesus, by the sons of Zebedee, maybe by Zebedee himself. Because back then when they used to build towns, they didn't used to import workers from Mexico and China. It didn't work. So they used the local villagers. So this is a city which is just laying out there. It's a full-size city. These are full-size towers from the time of Jesus, and he definitely walked through those towers. And more than that, he taught through those towers. How do we know this? We know from the Bible. Where did the prophets prophesy? At the city gates. Where did they teach, if not in the synagogues? Where? At the city gates. So when Jesus walked around in the Galilee, he walked through those city gates. And it's just lying there. So that's the ancient city of Tiberias. Next one, okay. This is not Golgotha. It is not. This is the Ela Valley. But this is the closest you will find a description of a physical tomb dated to the year 40 AD. So this is the time of Jesus, with the seal and everything. I mean, this is one of the most amazing places, Frida. We're definitely going to go there this time. Definitely. And that's right across from my home. And you know the story, 2,000 years ago, I'll give you behind-the-scenes story of what happened in Jerusalem on that Friday. So Friday, 2,000 years ago, Joseph came back home. His wife looked at him and says, Joe, Pesach Eve, what's up? He said, don't ask what a day. What a day. They crucified Jesus, and me and Nicodemus went up to the cross, and we took him down, we put him in a fresh tomb. It was a horrible day. His wife said, hold on. What happened? Me and Nicodemus, we took Jesus off the cross, we put him in our tomb, and his wife said, hold. You took a stranger that I do not know into the tomb of our family. And Joseph says, yes. To the tomb that we have paid, a fresh tomb that no man had ever been laid down before, that we use our life saving to buy, you put a stranger there. And Joseph looks at her and said, it's just for the weekend. True story. No, it's not a true story. It's not. Another amazing archaeological discovery is the city of Ziklag. City of Ziklag, for ages, we did not know where city of Ziklag is. It's in 1 Samuel 23. We know where it is in scriptures. We found the city of Ziklag. How do we know it's the city of Ziklag? Because in these jars, Philistine jars, it says Ziklag. So we know exactly where the town of Ziklag today. And if you look at that green hill, it's in the middle of nowhere. That's what I'm saying. Even if you put a power line, to connect a house, you can find Ziklag. It's funny, but it's real. That's what Israel is all about. Let's see, next slide. Okay. Okay, this one. This is the city of Sha'araim. 1 Samuel 17, those of you who are with me, we've seen that from above. In scriptures, I'm not going to go through the whole chapter. It's a great chapter, by the way. David and Goliath, really good chapter. I'll give you the promo. He killed him in the end. Okay, the little guy, not the big one. Just okay. So we know from scriptures that they said that the Philistine fell along the road to Sha'araim, even as far as Gat and Ekron. Sha'araim in Hebrew means two gates. What is the most important and most expensive part of a city? What do you think? The gates. Because the gates is your most vulnerable point. If you're not going to put good money in building good fortification, you're not going to last long. So if you have a place that has two gates, means they invested a lot of money and they're very proud of it. So they call themselves Sha'araim, two gates. And we found a city with two gates right above the battleground of David and Goliath. So this is the city of Sha'araim in 1 Samuel 17. Next one, this is what we call the Prisma of Sennacherib. I know that Prisma, everybody thinks of this glass with a light through it. Yes, but this is also in archaeology called Prisma. Let's go again, and let's review the time of Hezekiah, which, by the way, he's my favorite king. Him, then Josiah, then David. David is number 3 because of Uriah, but we're not going to go into this. So Hezekiah revolts against Sennacherib. Sennacherib goes in what we call a journey of punishment. He's not there to collect taxes. He's there to kill. Okay? He destroyed the mighty city of Lachish, and then he goes to Jerusalem. But he doesn't conquer Jerusalem. So the minimalists will come and tell you, how do you know that? How do you know that he didn't conquer Jerusalem? And the maximalists will say, what do you mean? The angel of God just killed a few 100,000 of Assyrians, and then the army fled. But the minimalists will say, well, I need a better proof than that. Well, we found this. It's in Hebrew, so let me read to you. So line 1 says, and as for Hezekiah the Jew, Hezekiah from Judea, that did not surrender to me, 46 fortified city and the little town, there were many in the region, I have destroyed them with battering ram, by bringing siege engine and by infantry. And by digging holes underneath the wall, I have besieged them and took 150 to 200 men, big and small, men and women, horses and cattle, donkeys and sheep, and countless bounty of war I brought with them. And Hezekiah himself I closed down as a bird in a cage. This is exactly what the Bible speaks about. When Hezekiah is about to surrender, and then Isaiah comes over and says, comfort my people. This is it. But on a big difference, this was written by our enemies. It was not written by us in the Bible. This is an Assyrian tablet, Prisma, that was found in Iraq. It's today in display in the Israel Museum. And that, what's that? And this was found, again, you can find it in Isaiah 36, in 37, 2 Kings, and 2 Chronicles. Next slide, this is again a place which is close to the public. We're going to be there. In our next study, we're going to be there. This is called the Kishle. In Jerusalem, there's a road called the Via Dolorosa. That it's a very Catholic road. It's a complete seaside. Complete seaside. Number one, there's no Via Dolorosa in the Bible. There are no 14 stations of the cross in the Bible. There isn't. It's a much, much, much later tradition. The suffering of Jesus, yes, of course, but not the 14th station. So for many, many years, people said, why did you choose this? And we tried to understand where was the real place, or more archaeologically based, the place that Jesus was kept in captivity. These are brand new excavation. I'm talking the last year. It's close to the public. We found the palace of Herod. And in those palace of Herod, we found cellars. Now, what happened when Pontius Pilate heard that Herod is in the city? What did he do with Jesus? He sent him to Herod's. We know where the palace of Herod is. We know where the cellars are. Probably Jesus was in one of those cellars. These are the cellars of the house of Herod. That's exactly what the Bible says. This is another slide I want to share with you. Okay, you see that slide on the right-hand side with the beetle? Okay, it says belonging to King Hezekiah. So we found the actual seal of my favorite king in the Bible, Hezekiah. So we know that the Bible is true but the Bible speaks about Hezekiah, and we found his seal right over there. So it's okay, you know what? We have a lot of artifacts about the kingdom of Judah. What about Israel? You see the next slide next to the next picture, there's a small stamp that says Obadiah on it. Now we know Obadiah from the New Testament, and from the Old Testament, Obadiah, where King David brought the Ark of the Covenant in Kiryat Yarim, right? We know that story. Remember with Uzzah? We know that. So who is this guy? This is the chancellor that is in charge of the house by the name Obadiah. So we turn to scriptures. Look at this. And Ahab called Obadiah, who was in charge of his house. Now Obadiah feared the Lord greatly, for it was while Jezebel massacred the prophets of the Lord, that Obadiah had taken 100 prophets and hid them, 50 at a cave, and had fed them bread and water. So we have a just and a righteous chancellor who was the head of the housekeep of King Ahab and had communication with Jerusalem. We found his seal. This seal is dated to the time of King Ahab and Jezebel. It was found in the city of David. Whoopsie. Oh, okay. So, what I want to show you now really quickly, I think that's the last slide in terms of archaeological finds. Questions about the archaeology before we go to what we can give you the website. One by one, please. Oh, come on, give me a question, seriously. I'll tell you what, I'm going to speak about the website. Yes, thank you.
Does the government employ the archaeologists and designate the sites? Or do the archaeologists locate the areas they wish to do and who pays for it?
Everybody heard the question? Basically, who funds the archaeologists? Is it the government or is it private entities?
Who funds it, but who designates the sites?
The answer is both. So this is how it happens. When you have a known archaeological site, Lachish, for example. Lachish is a known, well-buried archaeological site. And then what happens, you have permits that are given by the Israeli government to different institutes. Some of them belong to the government. Most of them will be theological seminaries and Hebrew U and Tel Aviv University. They're the biggest diggers. Tel Aviv is minimalist, Hebrew U is maximalist. So I'm Hebrew U, so that's it. Now, we have a different kind of a dig, and that dig is what we call a rescue dig. And what is a rescue dig? When you build a highway, and all of a sudden you found another half of the city of Beit Shemesh, which happened less than a year ago, then, okay, you stop and say, okay, we have on one hand, great, because we found a major archaeological site. On the other hand, horrible, because we need to commute about 300,000 people every morning. So you bring archaeologists that are paid by the government, together with universities, to do what we call a survey. Now, what happened is, if it's a big enough site, they'll move the road. They will move the road, or build a bridge on it, or dig underneath it, but they're not going to touch it. If it's just a small house or something not significant, they're going to document it, take a picture, and away we go. Other question? Yes?
So if somebody has land and they start to build on it and they find something that's important, is that just confiscated from them, or do they get paid for it, or how's that work?
If someone owns land and he starts digging and he finds something which is significant, God have mercy on him, because the land will be confiscated, yes. He will be compensated, yes, but your dream house, probably someone lived there before you.
What's the percentage of privately held land, though?
None. Zero. The land of Israel is owned by the government. The whole idea of the state of Israel, that it belongs to the Jewish people. So what happened is you lease the land. You buy a lease from the government for 50 years, plus another 50 years, Jubilee. By the way, 50 is not, it's biblical. And then after 50 years, you renew the lease. Oh, you don't, we don't know yet. But yeah, that's how it works. Other question? Yes?
Years ago, when I was younger, I used to hear a lot about Jericho and the discoveries there. I know you didn't mention that. Is that what we call an A, B, or C now with the knowledge that we have?
Jericho itself is an A site. This is Jericho, or it's called in Arabic Tel El Sultan. Jericho is an A site. However, Jericho is 10,000 years old. It's the oldest city in the world, actually the second oldest. There's a debate who is the oldest, we or there's another city in Turkey called Kublai Tepe. But I think it's Jericho. So when Joshua came over, there was already a city. Makes sense because he knocked down the walls with the trumpets. So what we see today, the layers that we see today are way before Joshua. They're not the time of Joshua. They are there about 3,000 years before Joshua. That's what we see today. Now, where are the walls of Joshua? We didn't dig the whole thing. But the fact is this Jericho? Yes. Is this Jericho from the time of Joshua? No, because we didn't dig it yet. Yes?
You showed a picture of a tomb. Were you saying that that was Jesus' tomb?
No. Okay.
Do you know the location of Jesus' tomb?
That's a very good question. The tomb that I showed is in the Ela Valley. Jesus was not crucified and resurrected at the Ela Valley. That's his ancestor, David. That's not Jesus. All right? This is the most accurate looking tomb as the Bible describes it. So if you want to see an authentic tomb of how it looked like, that will be it. So where is the place? Where is Golgotha? There's actually two main school of thoughts. One is going to be the Garden Tomb, and the other one is going to be the Church of Holy Sepulchre. Most what we call traditional old churches, which will be the Byzantine, Greek Orthodox, Catholics, they believe that it's the Church of Holy Sepulchre. Most evangelical and Protestant will believe it's going to be the Garden Tomb. Both of these places cannot be an A site. Why? If you'll dig and you find a bone with a nail in it, that's not Jesus because he resurrected. So there's no way for you to prove where is the place. One of the things that, some people, it's very important for them to know, tell me exactly where it is. I tell them, listen, it's where your heart thinks it is. Because if you're going to be at the Garden Tomb, you're going to feel more connected to the story, then it's in the Garden Tomb. If you're going to be in the Holy Sepulchre and they're going to feel more connected to the story, then it's in the Holy Sepulchre. I'm going to throw another stick to the pile here. In scriptures, we know that when Jesus was crucified, the veil was torn in half. The only place you can see the veil is if you're facing eastbound, looking westbound, which would be Mount of Olives. So maybe Golgotha is in the Mount of Olives. I just started a completely new world war right now, just by saying that. So we don't know. We don't know. Yes?
Omer, can you explain, I think it's called Tella, like with the different...
Tell, yes, tell, yeah. Tell is basically an archaeological cake. So it's layers of city upon a city upon a city upon a city. So what happened is you have an army coming over, destroys the city, and then after a while they'll build on top of that layer of destruction another city. And then there's another army comes over and destroys that, and you have another city. So basically you have a cake that if you dig down, you will see 22. Megiddo has 22 different civilizations. 22. Jerusalem has more than 40. Different civilizations. So that's a tell. That's today actually tell has been used by every archaeological department all over the world. It's a Hebrew name, but it's known all over the world. Tell, T-E-L. Yeah.
How much brevity is there? I was reading that there might be a possibility that the Temple Mount was actually in the old city of David versus the traditional Temple Mount area. Well, what do you know about that?
This is what happened when politics get involved. We know for a fact that Temple Mount is Temple Mount and not the city of David. One of the things that the people who claim this minimalist way of thinking is because they say you need a lot of water to clean the blood, and the water, the Gihon spring, is down at the valley below, not at the mountain above. However, if you will look at, oh, come on, there you go. You see that huge hole over there? There's a big, big, big room with a tiny little guy. This tiny little guy is actually 6 feet tall. This is the head archaeologist of the city of David. His name is Eli Shukron. And what you're looking at is a water cistern from the time of King Josiah. Now, this is a humongous water cistern that was built at the year of King Josiah. Why he built it? Because he did the reformation of centralization of sacrifice into the temple. And those minimalists are right. You need a lot of water. So he built this water cistern. Basically, the entire Temple Mount is full of water cisterns. It's like a huge hive with water cisterns to use to clean the blood. We have about 66,000 archaeological finds from Temple Mount that are dated to the temple, including the actual the actual barrier that says in Greek, non-Jews are not allowed past this point. So we know for a fact that that was on Temple Mount. Where on Temple Mount? Was it where the Dome of the Rock is, or a little bit to the north, or a little bit to the south? That we don't know. But it was 100% certain that's Mount Moriah. There's no question. We know this is it. Yeah. Other question? Yes?
Fascinating, of course, and a lot of tourism. But why is there so much anti-Semitism growing? It's so sad.
Anti-Semitism is one of the oldest hatred in history. Actually, the first act of anti-Semitism was Pharaoh. Think about it. It was Pharaoh. Let us kill them before they're going to outsmart us. It started then. Before they outsmart us and they're going to join our enemies. We're talking 3,000 years ago. For a lot of people, for a lot of nations, and I think that goes very well with the Abrahamic covenant, I bless those who bless thee and I curse those who curse thee. In order for that covenant to happen, you need someone to curse you. But I'm going to just touch on this one. I strongly believe in Genesis 12:3. And not because I'm Jewish, because I'm looking at history. Every nation that treated well its Jews flourished. From the Egyptian with their mighty cities that Joseph built, all the way through the British Empire. Every nation that betrayed their Jews ceased to exist. And again, to give you an example, we spoke about General Allenby, actually one of my favorite characters in history. England ruled for 400 years. It was known as the empire that the sun never set. In 1917, they came up with the Balfour Declaration. Less than a year after that, they won the First World War. A year after they promised the land of Israel to the Jews, which goes along very well with the Abrahamic blessing of a bless those who bless you. And they flourished. They went victorious from that war. In 1939, in June of 1939, they wrote what we call the Third White Book that says Jews are not allowed to enter into Palestine. That was in June of 1939. 3 months later, you have Second World War. England lost everything they had in 400 years. If 100 years ago, if someone sneezed in England, the world shook. Today, if they sneeze, no one even gives them a handkerchief. And it's amazing to see how God works. Today, you see it today. Yeah. Yes?
Is it really easy to find an archaeological site?
It is. Very easy, actually. My home, where I live, just in the perimeter of about 50 yards from my home, there are 3 archaeological sites. Israel is the most populated land in history because it's the only land bridge in the world between 3 continents. There's no such thing. It connects between Africa, Asia, and Europe. So basically, any great nation, apart from the New World, I'm not talking about the Aztecs right now, but almost every nation went through Israel, every single one of them. So you'll find a lot of archaeological sites. Yes?
I know that in other civilizations, when buildings would fall, then they would use some of the stones and materials to build other things. Do you find that a lot in Jerusalem? And does that muddy the waters?
You're right, yes, and it's called secondary use. It's called secondary use. Sometimes you can find that secondary use, for example, in the city of Tzipori, the Crusades took a Roman sarcophagus and used it as a foundation to their castle. Now, we recognize that this is a Roman sarcophagus. We see it. Or sometimes, in the city walls of Jerusalem, you'll see different types of rocks. Some of them has an edging around it. That edging we know is Herodian. So we know that the Turks took debris from the wall of Herod and used it as secondary use. Yes, you see it all the time. When you have something that is very significant, like a Crusade way of building, or a Roman way of building, or a Herodian way of building, even if they're going to do secondary use, you can still figure out which one is which. But it's very common, yes. Let's do 3 more questions. Yes?
You talked about the Via Dolorosa, and you said they don't really, it's a seaside.
It is a seaside, yeah.
But they know where Jesus' cross was, right?
They assume, again, we don't know that this is Golgotha. That goes back again to where is Golgotha.
Okay, they know where he was tried.
Again, no. because just now we found a new place.
Okay, then never mind.
So we don't know where the Praetorium... I'll give you an example. In 1952, there was a mount next to a city by the name Kiryat Gat. Okay? Back then, the name of the city was not Kiryat Gat because they just built it. So they said, how will we name that city? And they found this mount, this tell, and they said, it looks like the city of God. How do they know how the city of God looked like, right? It's 3,000 years ago. But don't destroy a good theory. Don't let the fact disrupt their theories. So our government decided, let's call it Kiryat Gat, city of God, because here is God. Not at all. God is about 10 miles north of there. We know that today. So the town of Kiryat Gat is named after a place that we know is not the place. So that's how archaeology evolves all the time. It doesn't happen much to that extent, but it does happen. Yes?
The discovery of the Jesus boat. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I noticed that wasn't in any of your pictures there.
First of all, it's not Jesus' boat. He never owned the boat. He actually, the only time he used the boat, he asked permission from Peter to do it. So he didn't really own the boat. He walked on water. He doesn't need boats. Oh, ye of little faith. Okay, so this is actually a very interesting artifact that was found. It is an A artifact, no question. It's a boat that was used by a local fisherman. It's not Jesus' boat. It's from the time of Jesus. Now, can we say that this boat belonged to Jesus? No, he didn't own a boat, right? Can we say it belongs to someone who knew Jesus? Absolutely yes. So it's the only fishing boat that is 2,000 years old that was found in fresh water. And it's open to the public and you can visit it today. It is an amazing, amazing discovery. Amazing. Last questions. Yes?
You mentioned how small Israel is, but that's just a sliver of the land that God gave to Israel originally. Is it
right? Yeah. But, we know that at the end, there's going to be a great war, Revelation 16. So I think there's going to be a change of borders. A little bit. So before we continue, folks, I just want to show you. Okay, this is our website. By God's grace, we're going to change it very soon because what happened was this website, if you click on the Welcome to Life Travel and Education Center, it will open a tab that you have countless amount of information about biblical archaeology. Again, it's free of charge. That's our entire agenda. Okay? So we are changing it because the server cannot hold it. It's too much. So in a few weeks, I hope you're going to see a different site, but this is us. Just Google Bible Come to Life. Google and you find it. You can also, like us on Facebook because we put at least once a week, we put new archaeological discoveries on Facebook. So again, that's the Bible Comes to Life. Outside, I brought a few booklets. For those of you who took the brown booklets, please download 2 apps. One is called QR Reader. And what happens is when you look at those brown booklets, you can scan with your phone. And if, let's say, it says Mount of Beatitude, you'll see a movie about Mount of Beatitude. The idea is that when you travel in Israel and you're at the site, you can open the book and scan it, and you have it there. Okay, that's one app I strongly urge you to download. It's free, QR Reader. The other one is called Virtual New Testament. Virtual New Testament, it's a computerized image of Jerusalem from the time of Jesus. It really is incredible. Really is incredible. These are some of the movies that we have. Okay, these are the, whoa. And this is ViewSonic. So before I let you go, thank you so much for enduring with me for a long time, actually. And I hope it was informative. We do have a study tour with the Ketchums. There's 5 places left? Yeah, 5 places left with the Ketchums this May. And of course, Frida and I are going to work on a study tour here for the church for the end of this year or beginning of 2021. So thank you so much. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, Omer, for joining us tonight, sharing with us your ministry. And many of you, I'm guessing, are thinking, how can we say thanks? How can we support Omer's ministry? And so we do have ushers ready to receive an offering. If you would like to give tonight, we'll just give everything that you give. We will give to the ministry of The Bible Comes to Life. You can give by cash. You can give by check written out to Ridgefield Church of the Nazarene. Or and you can just go ahead and pass the plates now. And if you need a little more time to write your check, we'll have one or two ushers. They'll just stand by the door as well. And if you would like to give online, we can arrange for that. Also, take your phone, go to ridgenaz.org, click the button that says Give. One of the giving funds there is already, and I can't remember what it was. I should have grabbed it. It says something like The Bible Comes to Life. I don't like this moment right now where I don't know what I'm talking about. It'll be obvious. You click funds, and it's like right near the top there. It'll says like The Bible Comes to Life, love offering, Omar, love offering, something like that. You're smart. You'll figure it out. But okay, yeah, do not, so Omar just told us, do not write it out to The Bible Comes to Life. Tell you what, you can just write it to the church, and we will turn around, just write it to Ridgefield Church of the Nazarene. We'll turn around and provide one check written correctly. And so, again, thanks. Dan, I didn't ask you to do this. Would you come on up here and pray a prayer of blessing for Omer, for all of us tonight, based on what we've heard tonight, and we'll be dismissed after Dan prays for us.
Thank you, Pastor. What a great evening. I just know you already love Omer. Let's pray. Abba, in the name of Yeshua, we thank you tonight for the confidence that we have that your word is true and that you bless those who bless Israel. Thank you for this congregation, for the many, many congregations represented here. Thank you for these people who want to bless your purposes and promises. We do pray your blessing on Omer and Michal and their precious girls, Lord. I pray for them tonight. They've been without daddy and husband now for a couple of weeks. And so Ella and Tamar want daddy home. Would you bless them tonight, keep them protected, and continue to bless this ministry. The Bible Comes to Life, please. In the name of Yeshua, Jesus, and everyone said, Amen. Amen. God bless you, friends.